Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into a really explosive time in American history, the Gilded Age. Roughly, what, 1865 to about 1898.
That's right, right after the Civil War, up to the edge of the 20th century.
And it's just, wow, such a period of massive change.
Yeah.
Huge technological leaps, crazy economic growth, and businesses consolidating in ways that just totally reshaped America.
Yeah, and we really have to start with that name, don't we? The Gilded Age. It's kind of the key to the whole thing.
It sounds nice, gilded. Almost golden, but not quite. It suggests something's being covered up.
Exactly. That's the core metaphor. It captures this duality. On the surface, you've got this amazing shine, right? Incredible industrial growth, fortunes being made like never before, this feeling of unstoppable progress.
Gold.
The gold, yeah. But underneath that shiny layer, deep problems, huge economic gaps opening up, corruption, serious social issues just festering below. Is prosperity, but maybe a bit of an illusion.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. Let's try and peel back that gold leaf. We need to get into what drove this incredibly fast development, this consolidation of wealth and power. And then, critically, look at the other side, the socioeconomic consequences,
Yeah.
the human cost of all that rapid, sometimes brutal change.
Right. Understanding the drivers and the outcomes.
So let's start with speed. Velocity.
Mm-hmm.
Because, man, this era just moved incredibly fast, didn't it? The technology.
Oh, absolutely. The pace was staggering. Innovation wasn't just improving things, it was creating entirely new industries almost out of thin air.
Yeah, it revolutionized production, communication, even just how cities work.
And if you need one person to represent that surge, it's probably Thomas Edison, right?
We always think light bulb, but it's so much more. That 1879 bulb, and maybe more importantly, the power systems he developed, they didn't just light up rooms.
No, they totally rewrote the clock for industry. Think about it from, say, a factory owner's point of view. Suddenly, daylight doesn't matter.
Right.
You can run factories 24/7, triple your output, maybe.
Which means you need whole new ways to manage people, shifts.
Yeah.
Everything gets more complex.
Exactly. It basically created modern shift work. And then, like you said, it wasn't just factories. He's pioneering things like the phonograph, motion pictures, completely new fields.
So that speed, that innovation,
Yeah.
the old ways of doing business just couldn't keep up.
Not at all. The sources show this acceleration forced totally new structures. Companies needed new financial models, new management techniques, sophisticated marketing, and, crucially, a huge, growing labor force to actually do the work required for this massive jump in production. The whole scale changed. Consolidation became almost inevitable.
Okay, so that leads us right into how they consolidated. The rise of the big corporation, the trust.
Yeah, these giants just had access to so much more capital, better planning. Small, local businesses often just got swallowed up or pushed aside.
And this is where we get those key terms, right? Horizontal versus vertical integration. These are
Yeah.
the playbooks?
Let's start with horizontal. John D. Rockefeller, Standard Oil. That's the classic example. The strategy was, well, pretty ruthless. You systematically buy out or crush your competitors. Eliminate the competition in your specific market layer.
He wasn't just trying to get a bigger slice. He wanted the whole pie.
Pretty much. He achieved almost total control over oil refining, something like 90% by the end.
90%. That's staggering. It's basically infrastructure at that point.
It really is. Then you've got the other approach, vertical integration. Think Andrew Carnegie and U.S. Steel.
So if Rockefeller went wide, Carnegie went deep.
Exactly. Vertical is about controlling the entire process, top to bottom.
So owning the mines for the raw materials, the ships and trains to move it, the factories to process it, the distribution, everything.
Every single step. And the advantage there, massive efficiency and cost control. You cut out the middlemen, you aren't dependent on suppliers, your costs are rock bottom. Makes it incredibly hard for anyone else to compete.
So different methods, horizontal or vertical. But the end result was similar. These huge trusts and holding companies, Standard Oil, American Sugar, consolidating tons of smaller companies under one central control.
Creating these immense corporate empires that were, incredibly efficient, but also prone to monopolistic behavior.
Now, these giant companies didn't just spring up because of smart tactics. The whole environment, politically and ideologically, kind of encouraged it, didn't it?
Oh, definitely. The government's attitude was largely pro-business. The dominant policy was laissez-faire capitalism.
Hands off.
Pretty much. The general belief among policymakers was that the market should operate freely. Competition sorts things out, no need for heavy regulation.
But how do people stomach that, especially when you see one guy getting control of 90% of oil? That's where the ideas come in, like social Darwinism.
Exactly. That provided the intellectual justification or maybe the rationalization. Thinkers like William Graham Sumner took Darwin's ideas about natural selection, the
Right.
survival of the fittest.
And applied them to society and the economy.
Right. The argument was basically that economic competition was natural and good. It weeded out the weak and ensured the fittest, the most successful businesses and individuals would rise to the top.
Which meant, in practical terms, if you were rich, it was seen as proof you were somehow better, more virtuous.
And if you were poor, well, that was seen as your own failing, a natural consequence.
It's a harsh way to look at it.
Extremely. It justified the massive inequality and made it harder to argue for reforms or regulations. It basically said, this is natural, don't interfere.
And this drive for growth, fueled by efficiency and this ideology, it didn't just stay within the U.S. borders, did it?
No, American industry started looking outward, seeking new markets, needing more raw materials. This is really the beginning of America flexing its muscles on the global stage.
Try and get more influence, control resources. Where were they looking?
Places like the Pacific Rim, Asia, Latin America, we see specific examples. Companies like Castle and Cooke in Hawaii involved in sugar, they actively supported U.S. annexation there. Or other firms extracting resources like phosphates from Caribbean islands. The domestic engine needed global fuel.
Okay, so you have this powerful pro-business ideology, global expansion. But eventually things got so extreme, especially with railroads charging unfair rates, that people pushed back.
They had to. The monopolies became too blatant, the abuses too obvious. It became a political problem.
And that leads to 1887?
Yep, 1887, the creation of the Interstate Commerce Commission, the ICC, a huge moment.
The very first federal agency designed to regulate business, aimed squarely at the railroads initially because of all the public outcry.
Now, we should be clear, its initial powers were pretty limited. It wasn't like it suddenly fixed everything overnight.
But symbolically.
Symbolically, it was massive. It was the federal government saying, for the first time, okay, maybe completely unregulated competition isn't always the best thing. Maybe monopolies are dangerous. It was the first crack in pure laissez-faire.
So let's tie this together for someone living through it. You've got this incredible wealth creation, speed, technology, and these pro-business ideas and policies. What did that actually feel like on the ground?
It felt like two different worlds existing side by side. Stark duality. On one hand, you have these industrial leaders accumulating personal fortunes on a scale never seen before. Unprecedented wealth. On the other hand, deepening economic inequality for huge swaths of the population.
And this wealth was being built by a massive workforce, right? Immigrants, women, even children.
Absolutely. Working incredibly long hours. 10, 12 hours a day wasn't uncommon. 6, sometimes 7 days a week.
In conditions that were, well, often dangerous.
Yeah.
And definitely unregulated.
Extremely dangerous, often. And the pay was incredibly low, especially for women and children who earned just a fraction of what men did for similar work. It created not just wealth, but also widespread industrial poverty and real social unrest.
So it's no wonder people couldn't agree on what to call the men at the top. This divide is reflected in the labels, right?
Exactly. Two completely opposite narratives emerged. On one side, captains of industry, visionaries, innovators, building the nation, driving progress, making America strong and efficient. Their success was celebrated.
And the flip side.
Robber barons, ruthless monopolists, exploiting workers, using dirty tricks, manipulating markets just to enrich themselves, condemned as greedy and immoral.
It really captures the moral confusion of the time, doesn't it? All this change, all this wealth. What did it mean?
And Andrew Carnegie, maybe more than anyone, wrestled with this. His Gospel of Wealth essay is fascinating.
What was his argument there?
He basically argued that, yes, accumulating vast wealth was okay, maybe even necessary for progress, but the wealthy then had a profound moral duty, a duty to act as stewards, as trustees for the public good, and give that fortune back to society in ways that benefited everyone.
He tried to bridge the gap, solve the robber baron critique by being the ultimate captain of industry through philanthropy.
You could see it that way, and he practiced what he preached to a degree. He gave away a fortune over $350 million back then, which is staggering.
Funding libraries, universities, cultural centers, things he thought would uplift people.
Exactly. He believed this philanthropy could justify the means, justify the massive accumulation of wealth required to fund it. It was his attempt to reconcile capitalism with social responsibility.
So wrapping this up, the Gilded Age seems defined by this incredible tension. Astonishing innovation, ruthless efficiency, consolidation, creating huge wealth.
And at the very same time, creating huge social divides, inequality, and hardship, the shine and the shadow.
And we saw this tension play out in ideas too. Social Darwinism saying, let it run wild.
Clashing with the practical reality that forced the creation of the ICC, even if it was limited at first. That first step towards regulation.
It feels like that core tension, the belief in free markets versus the need to address the problems they create, is the big takeaway. It didn't end in 1898.
Not at all. Which leads to maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. Think about that vertical integration model, Carnegie controlling everything. Supreme efficiency, right?
Right.
Now look at some major companies today, maybe in tech, maybe elsewhere. Companies that control the design, the platform, the distribution, the data, the whole ecosystem.
Kind of a modern vertical integration.
You could argue that. So the question is, does that kind of all-encompassing efficiency, even if it delivers great products or services, carry similar structural dangers to what people saw in the Gilded Age? Dangers that might eventually require some form of modern oversight or intervention.
When does efficiency become too powerful? Where's that line?
Exactly. That debate, balancing efficiency and market freedom against broader public good and potential harms, it really started crystallizing back then, and it's definitely still with us today.